Hi everyone, my name is Ariel Christian, and I'm here to talk to you guys about the theories of management. On this slide, I listed the theories of management that the book covers. It primarily covers the classical or traditional theory and also the systems approach, which is a review from chapter 2. But it also briefly mentions these others that I've listed on here, so I'll be sure to let you know about them as well. All right, so the classic or traditional theory is one that is gone into very much gone into detail in this book, and it's centered around that there is only one way to do a task and there's only one way to manage an organization. I like to think of this theory as the jungle, the book The Jungle, as a meat packing plant where each person has their own individual cut to the meat. They're only specialized in that. They don't have to consider any of the other cuts. It's very much the opposite of systems approach. However, it is the foundation of the rest of the management styles that came after it because it is the earliest one. It was created in the late 1800s, early 1900s. So this was the first management style. And the next slide, I'll go into more detail on the principles that this style is based upon. All right, so this is Henry Fayol's Principles of Classical Management. And he is one of the people who kind of created this management style. I have all 14 of the principles stated for you guys here. However, I'm going to go into more detail into this video about what each of them mean. So the division of work, word from word for the book is basically there's a specialization is the most efficient way to use human effort. Back to that kind of jungle example that I gave in the last slide. The second one is authority and responsibility. And authority is defined as the right way to give orders and obtain obedience. And responsibility is the natural result of authority. So back to management of very specialized people, you have to give them orders to do things. The third is discipline, where penalties and sanctions are the best way to obtain obedience to rules and work agreements. The fourth is the unity of command. This specifies each person should be accountable to only one superior. The fifth is the unity of direction, where all units should be moving towards same objectives through coordinated and focused effort. Number 6 is the subordination of individual interest to general interest, and that is the interest of the organization takes higher priority than the interest of the individual. Number 7 is the remuneration of employees, and that is that pay and compensation should be fair to the employee and the organization. Number 8 is centralization, which involves subordinates' involvement through decentralization should be balanced with managers' final authority through centralization. Basically, workers are not centralized, and the managers must centralize them to that one task or for the benefit of the business. 9 is scalar chain, which is authority and responsibility flow a direct line vertically from highest level of the organization to the lowest. So basically, workers have less authority and responsibility than a manager, and a manager has less than the owner of the business. The next is order, and that is that people and material should be in appropriate places at appropriate times to maximize efficiency. Number 11 is equity, and that means that all employees should be treated equally. 12 is the stability of personnel, and that is employee turnover should be minimized to maintain organizational efficiency. 13 is initiative. Workers should be encouraged to develop and carry out plans for improvement. And the last one is spirit de corps, which managers should promote team spirit of unity and harmony. I think this one kind of is interesting considering that all of these principles have to do with specialization and that there's one way to do things, so it kind of doesn't promote unity in a way, and a lot of these workers are not, they don't come together with the other workers because they don't have to do their task or see importance in their task. So I thought that this last one was kind of interesting to me. So this next theory is human relations theory. And this one came next as far as chronologically, as stated in the book. And this one emphasized behavioral sciences. And basically it brought psychology mostly into management ideas and emphasized that within a organization, informal groups such as groups of friends are formed and should be taken into consideration in management. So this is what that one really focuses on and brings to the table, and you'll see that this one kind of comes in mixes with classical theory when we get to systems approach. So this next theory, which is management science or the operations research theory, really just introduces technology into management by putting in place tests and basically computer operations that can spit out if management is being efficient, maybe why, and kind of lead you to maybe why it's not, or if you need to change management. And the two technologies or technological advances this management style brings into is the Management Information System, or MIS, and the Program Evaluation and Review Technique, or PERT. All right, so this next one is systems approach theory. And this one is a complete review from chapter 2. So I think of this one as kind of combining the classical and human relations theory, and kind of blending them together and focusing on interdependence and holism. And that is actually a principle within the systems approach that it really focuses on, and that is that the whole of an entity is more than the sum of its parts. This one is very popular. In fact, I was managed under a systems approach kind of management style, more systems approach type, where I worked at the Richlands Piggly Wiggly. So this one's very popular because it can be used for all sorts and sizes of businesses. These next two in the book kind of received honorable mentions, and they weren't really talked about in depth. So I can't really talk about them in depth because I don't really know a lot about them. However, the book defines the contingency approach as the management style based on the belief that activities should be adjusted to fit the situation. So basically, your management style should change based on who you're managing, what tasks that you're managed to do or you're asked to manage that get done. I kind of think the contingency approach and the chaos theory go together in a sense, and you might kind of see why. So the chaos theory is defined as the management style that recognizes that complex and unpredictable dynamic of a system. So organizational events are rarely controlled. So basically within the chaos, there's no way to have a determined management style because you have no idea what you're going to deal with, is basically kind of what this was going about. And I can see how this really affects larger businesses more than smaller ones because you're managing more things. All right, so the last thing I have to talk about is strategic management, which is actually not a theory of management, it's just how to manage strategically. I will give you a hint in the fact that if strategic shows up on the test, it's probably under this section in chapter 13. So strategic management is relatively, I like to think of it as the scientific method applied to business management. And that's really what it is. It goes through multiple, like 5 steps on how to strategically manage something, which is basically like find a problem, kind of guess what's affecting the problem, make a hypothesis, all of the steps of the scientific method, however it is applied to a business. So I wanted to kind of leave you guys with that. And if you'd like to read more up on this, you certainly can. However, like I said, it's basically just the scientific method of business management. All right, so this slide I'm not actually going to talk about because I just didn't feel like it was important enough. However, these are kind of honorable mentions and key terms under the strategic management part of this chapter. So I would invite you to look over these and kind of get to know them. Back to, like I said, if the word strategic shows up on the test, it probably has something to do with strategic management, because you have to have a strategic plan and not just a plan. So I'll leave these here. There are lots of steps written in the book on how to have a strategic success that I didn't include here, but I will lend you and offer you to look at that yourself. But these are, like I said, honorable mentions to kind of help you and guide you through this section of the book.
Hey everyone, I'm Cindy Richardson, and I'm here to talk to you guys about the functions of management. So a quick definition of what functions of management entails, or like the purpose, and it's the development and the organization of functions of an entity, including the staff, directing, coordinating, reporting, and budgeting. So a brief history, Henry and Luther are both two people that developed some main points and requirements for management. So Henry decided that planning, organization, command, coordination, and control were 5 requirements of management. And Luther went on to develop more to make 7 functions: planning, organizing, staffing, directing, coordinating, budgeting, cooperating, and reporting. So the main objectives are vision, which is thinking ahead and like looking to see like where you want the management or the business to be. You set clear and concise objectives, which we will go into further on why those are important. Policies and procedures, which is your course of action that guides the decisions you make to receive or to achieve the activities that all aim to reach the end goal of the organization. Rules and strategies. So when planning, there are some factors to consider, and this is a figure out of the book that's on this slide. And strategic planning comes from analyzing all of these outside factors, including the company's competitiveness and things such as customer demand, in order to make sure you reach the main objectives that were previously defined on the last slide. So components of strategic planning: statement of purpose, defined future, description of the company's competitive advantage, and a proposed resource allocation. And all of these components require all of those working within the organization to come together to develop them. And the rules and policies that were defined previously must be defined clearly, or else you could have, for example, one person of the management understands the rules that they're supposed to sell this much product in this color, but somebody doesn't get that information and they think they're supposed to sell a different amount, or they're supposed to sell in a different color. And having that miscommunication doesn't allow for the company to reach their objective. But organizing. So this is the development of the framework or the structure that allocates and defines the activities that need to be done by the business. Organizational structure, another definition, just a plan structure that creates a pattern of relationships among the various organizations, among the various components of the organization. So to go into more detail on the organizational framework on this slide, I have the 4 basic steps that are discussed in the textbook to determine and define objectives. So every organization has a purpose that they want to accomplish, and these have to be defined for every component of the organization to understand and efficiently and effectively achieve the task at hand in order to achieve the main goal. You also have to analyze the required work. This is more of like delegating the work out to different components of the business. And the components depend on the type of business. So if you have a restaurant, you know that the chef has been assigned to cook, to know how to cook the items that are already set in place on the menu. So they cook them. The servers understand that when they take the order and they give it to the chef, they're going to cook it, and that they have to go back and get the food to deliver it to the customer. So step 3, describe the work in detail. This is what you would see like when you apply for a job and they have like the job detail or the job description. This is exactly what the position does and what is required of them. And the job detail that is defined by the organization also aims to achieve the goal of the company. So step 4, determine and specify the relationship between workers and management. So this is assigning, this is also part of delegating. It's like assigning tasks based on the respective department. So like in a restaurant, the server should not be cooking the food for the customers. The chef should be cooking the food. The server should be taking orders and delivering the food. Here are the types of organizations that are defined in the book. You have line authority, staff authority, and functional authority. Line authority, each person reports to the person that's ranked above them. So this is like what we often see in many businesses. You have a boss, and then you have the people that work under them. Or for example, if as a student, although it's not like a job, as a student you report to your professor, and your professor reports to a dean. Staff authority occurs when the business is very large, and just having a set line of people, this person reports to this higher up and this person reports to this higher up, you have somebody that comes in and is like the advisor and assists individuals at that level. So functional authority is when someone of higher up assigns a person that is inferior to them to have authority over a larger group of people for like a certain amount of time. Staffing is a function of management that involves employing and training people that are fit for the business and are capable of achieving the tasks that aim to accomplish the goals of the business. Directing is making decisions and communicating those choices to all components of the organization, as well as delegating tasks required by the organization to achieve the main goal. Directing also plays into making sure that the job details and the tasks are clearly defined to staff, because if they're not, then the goals of the organization will not be achieved efficiently or effectively. So coordinating is bringing together all parts of the organization, and this is a result of delegation. So delegating tasks out to waiters or hostesses or chefs, coordinating them together would be management, making a system that allows for waiters to put in orders that are delivered to chefs, and for hostesses to understand what like section of the restaurant to seat someone in order to make sure that like the server is not overwhelmed with tables and therefore the customers are getting out their food late. So reporting is keeping all parts of the organization informed on their responsibilities. So this is keeping a record of the tasks that were completed each day or the tasks that were not, sales and things like that, in order to make sure that each person and each component of the business is informed of their goals, what they should be doing, and what they could improve on. So budgeting. So this includes fiscal planning, accounting, and controlling. I believe this is the most important part of the functions of management, as someone who has worked in a business who was not good at budgeting and understanding where their money, what the inflows and outflows of cash and resources and inventory, and I've seen how that has strongly and negatively affected a business. So this ensures performance in all areas of the business, and it is clearly defined by the plans. So it measures, like I said earlier, output, quantity, quality of finished product, food, and labor costs, and it ensures that workers are working efficiently. So for example, from my personal experience, I worked in a business where the managers were not aware that employees were sometimes not ringing up their lunch that they ordered at the restaurant. They were just going back to kitchen staff and asking them to cook food. And therefore, when the management went back to check the books to see how much they sold and how that correlated with the inventory that had left, it was always off, and therefore it cost the business a lot of money.
My name is Matthew William, and I'm going to be discussing managerial skills and roles. The book describes a skill as the ability to translate knowledge into action, and Robert Katz proposed the three-skill approach, which he identified technical skills, human skills, and conceptual skills as the necessary skills to fulfill management roles. And to present day, it's still the most widely accepted method for classing managerial skills. Technical skills are defined as skills necessary to perform specialized activities. The use of technical skills vary throughout the different types of management or the levels of management. So you have lower level management, mid-level, and top level management. And technical skills are found to be used more on lower level management, more in a supervisory role than in a top management position. Some examples of technical skills are time management skills, organizational skills, numerical skills if you do any kind of measurements or anything like that. And mostly used today in present day is computer skills. Human skills are defined as understanding and motivating individuals and groups. Human skills are needed on all levels of management, but is most important in middle level and lower level management. In middle management, you would find more of your human resources or human relations type positions. And some examples of human skills are interpersonal skills, which could consist of decision-making, assertiveness, type of things like that, communication skills, verbal and reading nonverbal cues, conflict management, problem solving, emotional awareness, and teaching ability. Conceptual skills are defined as integrating all the activities and interests of the organization towards a common goal. So basically looking at the overall picture and piecing everything together to reach that one goal. Conceptual skills are utilized more within a top level management position than other levels, just due to a lot more of the organizing and decision making are done at top level management. Some examples of conceptual skills that managers would use are analytics, creative thinking, critical thinking, leadership, communication, and also decision making. Henry Misberg designed a role theory of management where he identified 10 roles necessary for managers to possess. He defined a role as an organized set of behaviors belonging to an identifiable position. He also grouped the roles into interpersonal roles, informational roles, and decisional roles. Interpersonal roles are relevant to establishing and maintaining relationships. Informational roles are relevant to communication, and decisional roles pertain to action and making and following through on decisions. The three interpersonal roles are figurehead, leader, and liaison. And as stated before, interpersonal roles are related to establishing and maintaining relationships. So figurehead is just somewhat of symbolism. A leader oversees the achievement of the goals, and the liaison maintains the context outside the organization. Informational roles consist of monitor, disseminator, and spokesperson. And they are all relevant to communication. So monitor collects all the information relevant to the organization. A disseminator transmits information gathered outside of the organization to outsiders. An example of a disseminator would be sharing information with subordinates who otherwise wouldn't have access to the details, and a spokesperson. And a spokesperson transmits information from inside the organization to the outsiders. Decisional roles consist of entrepreneur, disturbance handler, resource allocator, and negotiator. And decisional roles pertain to action through making and following through on decisions. Entrepreneur oversees changing or adapting to changing conditions in the environment, and the disturbance handler handles unexpected changes in the organization. The resource allocator makes decisions concerning priorities for utilization of resources. An example of that could be budget, and a negotiator deals with individuals and other organizations.
Hi everyone, my name is Reba Ammerman and my portion was Tools of Management. So I'm going to start with the organization chart, and this just graphically presents basic groupings and relationships between positions and functions in a business. So it just shows your formal organizational structure. So it shows lines of authority, but it doesn't show the degree or responsibility of that authority. And it also doesn't show informal relationships. And so that are its downfalls. But due to this, job descriptions and organization manuals are really helpful supplemental tools for an organization chart. So you can either base it off of line of authority or functional activity or a combination of both. And graphics within an organization chart, blocks or circles are going to represent functions or positions. Solid lines are just channels of authority. Dotted lines you don't usually see, but it shows advisory responsibility or lines of communication. And at the top of an organization chart, there is the most authority, and at the bottom, there'll be those with the least authority. So a quick example, you can see that this block at the top has the most authority, and those at the bottom have the least. And the one at the top is over everyone, and those boxes represent different positions. So a job description. Most of us have seen these when you're looking for a job. So this just shows the required skills and responsibilities in an organized list of duties. So it can be seen as an extension of an organization chart. It just talks about the activities and job relationships within each position. So it's more detailed. So uses, hiring employees, obviously you want to make sure you're getting the right person to fit that job description. It's also really helpful in training and orientation of new employees because it's showing everything that they will be doing and what they need to be able to do. And it's also good with establishing pay because you'll know what they'll be doing and you can determine how much you want to pay them for that. And it shows limits of authority or responsibility. So if someone tries to step out of that and use more authority than they have, you can look back at the job description and reprimand them on that. So that's why job descriptions are needed, and most businesses should have a folder of every single position that they have job description, and they need to be updated every so often. So job descriptions can be narrative or outline or a combination of both. The most common is a job summary and then like bullet points of the specific duties and requirements. So progressive companies have started getting rid of the job descriptions and replacing them with the skills research system. This just shows steps in a career ladder vertically, and then the skills and competencies required for each step right beside it. And usually those steps will have a variety of positions rather than just one, so people can see, what skills and competencies do I have and where can I go with that. And here's a quick example of a job description for a first cook. There's job summary, performance requirements, food supervision will be under, etc. So a job specification, this is just a statement of minimum standards for a particular job. Basically just what you must have to do this job. This includes the duties, such as sweeping, stocking shelves, working conditions, like is it hot, how fast paced, and personal qualifications that you need to be successful in that job, such as a degree. And it's used to place the right person in the right position. You don't want someone who can't do one of those duties in that position because they can't do it. And sometimes in smaller businesses, the job description or the job specification is in the job description. Here's a quick example of it again for Fresh Cooks. There's a job summary, the experience and education that they need to do the job, knowledge and skills, physical and personal requirements, etc. So the work schedule. This is the outline of work to be done by an employee with procedures and time requirements for each duty to be done throughout the day. This is not usually what you would think of as a work schedule, like the day and time you come in, but it's far more detailed. This is helpful in training because it shows at what time of day exactly what you need to be doing. And there are individual, daily, unit, and organization work schedules, but the most common is the daily unit because creating individual work schedules would take so much time because they're so detailed, and organization work schedules would be not really that helpful because they have to be so general. And in food production, the work schedule needs to be supplemented with a daily production schedule because that changes every day. And that includes the day's menu items and pre-preparation for the next day. Here's another quick example of work schedule, and you can see how detailed this is. Because like from 5:30 to 7:15 here, there's 7 different things that they have to do. And it tells them exactly what they're gonna be doing during their shift. So scheduling of employees. You need to thoroughly analyze and study the job, working conditions, and probable efficiency of the employees before you do this. So your type of food service, whether it's commissary, conventional, etc., is a very important factor because it determines if you're having fresh or frozen food and how much preparation you're going to need. And this is going to affect how long the shifts are going to be and what the person is going to have to do during that time. And you need to have a uniform production schedule. This is just a product of good menu planning. And this just allows workers to be efficient because you don't want a worker to come in one day and have a ton of stuff to do and then come in the next and have nothing to do. But it's not efficient. And so you want to analyze sample menus with total labor hours and time of day required for all preparations to determine your number of employees. And for your number of full-time employees, that is your total estimated work hours required to cover all activities in a day divided by the number of working hours, how long your shifts are going to be. So working conditions are going to affect scheduling because you don't want a person working a really long time in, really hot, humid, bad lighting, and unsafe environment because they'll just leave if they're working that for a long time. And the arrangement of equipment is super important because you don't want your employees to travel a huge distance because that just wastes their time and energy during their shift. And a work distribution analysis chart is a really good tool for scheduling because it shows all the activities within a department and you can determine what skills can be eliminated, combined, or modified to make efficient use of time. So when you're setting standard times for activities, you want to determine the level at which an average employee could do 20 or 30% more without getting exhausted. So when you're writing schedules, you want them to be written out. It's very helpful for your employees and it helps clarify so there are no issues. And they need to be flexible to adapt to your daily menu, especially in food production. So that's it for tools of management. And our discussion question is, which function of management do you think would be the hardest for you to execute if you were a manager, and why? Thank you, guys.